Hi everyone! I hope you are well, or as well as you possibly can be, given the absolutely just tumultuous experience of existing right now. I hope that you are finding peace, that you are thank you for joining, that you are basking in whatever self-curated peace that you have available to you, and that ultimately, if you have the access to means of supporting those that need help right now, that you're doing so, whether it's energetically, hello, or financially, that you're doing so. But otherwise, just bask in gratitude for your peace, your health, your safety. And let's talk a little bit about this new moon this week. And I'm dramatic always, babe, I'm a Leo moon, but this is a new moon that astrologers have been talking about for months now, because it is one of the most it's one of the most magical, delicious lunar transits that we've had in a while. Oh, yay, I'm so grateful. Honestly, if wherever you guys are at emotionally, if you are in need of any help or something that can invite you to bask in some light, this is the lunation for you. This is the era for you. And honestly, if you can just make as much room for movement and fluidity in your schedule for this Wednesday, I would invite you to just make that a day that is fully committed and dedicated to you exploring, manifesting, and I'll talk about why and why this specific new moon is so significant. But just already, if I can plant that seed of make Wednesday fully for you, do that. Thank you all for joining. So this new moon this week is in the sign of Pisces, right? We're in Pisces season, so the new moon is in Pisces. And what is so gorgeous about it is that it's conjoining Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, abundance, and blessings. And so in a second, I'll talk about where you're going to be sort of experiencing some gifts, some new energy, some rebirth, relative to your rising sign. But before I get into that, I kind of just want to give an overview of what the energy of this new moon is. And it is all about our spiritual wellness and honestly just being so expansive when it comes to what we are calling in our lives and what we think we are deserving of, and ultimately our fullest potential. So that is why the journaling prompt that I shared on the page today was, are you placing any limitations on your dreams? And the reason why is because we can place sort of rigid barriers surrounding how large the things that we want to experience in our life is, right? And that could be because of fear, our own sense of self-worth, or just in whichever case we think that, asking for something smaller evades the experience or the potential experience of disappointment. And understanding that this moon is really just an invitation to look at the fact that our deservingness is innate, unconditional, boundless, and limitless. And the only thing that places barriers on what we are deserving of and how large our dreams can be is the belief that we have in ourselves, the perspective that we've chosen when it comes to our worth and our deservingness, and ultimately how conditioning has taught us just a level of performance or the ways in which we need to work for what we deserve of, rather than it being an innate thing. So if there is any lunar transit to work with when it comes to manifesting, and ultimately manifesting from the lens of the world is mine and I can decide how large, how bright, how expansive I want my experience in this incarnation to be, I couldn't think of a better one. So utilize Wednesday. Already start thinking about it, but Wednesday, I would really invite you to just write down, right? It's the Mercury day as well. So really making sure that we're utilizing our mind and our words and the ways in which we communicate to write down how large in every area of your life and how rich, I think large and rich are the words here, especially with Jupiter conjoining. How large and rich do I want my life to be here? And how can I ask for these things without looking through the lens of, but I'm scared, am I capable? Do I deserve that much? No, it's okay. And I was listening to this podcast with Jay Shetty and Alicia Keys, and she was talking about how, saying, that's fine, I don't need much. You think that you're living life humbly, but what you're really doing is communicating to the universe that you just don't find that you're deserving of largeness. And largeness can look simple to you, right? It's all relative to your unique dialogue, but ultimately you deserve the fullest sensation, the fullest flavors of what it is that you want to experience in this lifetime. So you deserve the fullest love, the fullest career, milestones, fullness of what you are calling in. Yeah, totally. So in summation, really utilize Wednesday to be so clear and succinct on how large you want any area of your life to be that you're focusing on, and we can direct or we can derive some direction on where you can be manifesting certain things relative to your rising sign in a second. Can't wait to join. Yes, I will send the podcast link. It's incredible. Yeah, she talked about how meeting Swiss Beats, who is someone that lives life very largely, kind of invited her to allow herself to ask for more and not think that it was coming from she was still coming from a place of humility and simplicity, but ultimately finding herself deserving of asking for large things rather than communicating to the universe like, no, I'll just take the bare minimum. Don't worry. Like, I'm cool. I don't need commitment. I don't need anyone to go out of their way for me. Like, no, you deserve that. And also, Pisces is the most spiritual sign of the zodiac, right? It's the 12th, and it's kind of like the culmination of all of the signs that come before it. So whenever we're working with any Pisces energy, we really want to connect with how we define, relate to, and experience divinity. So what I will say is that when you're calling in these intentions or these manifestations, it's so important to make sure that you are sourcing the why of what it is that you want. Not only for you, of course, but making sure that it is honoring your soul, what you define divinity to be before ego, right? And it's important that we have discernment with what is ego and what is like just innate worth and deservingness, right? It doesn't mean that if you want money, that's an egoic desire versus a human desire, but it's important to recognize, why do you want money? Do you want money to impress other people? Do you want money out of fear? Or do you want money because you want to live life comfortably? You want to be able to help and be generous in the way that you show up for others in community, right? So really just defining what it is that you are calling into your life, what your dreams are. And when you boil down these dreams and these things to their why, do they honor what you believe divinity to be? What you believe your soul's purpose to be, and what your soul is craving, rather than performance for an online world, satiating other people's expectations of you, fear, right? Or if you are limiting what you truly desire out of, deservingness, right? So really recognizing where your ego is playing a role and what you're calling in, because Pisces energy is all about, something so much larger than yourself. And that brings me to the next point, which is that under this transit for this week, honestly, I would invite you to really center your spiritual wellness in all that you do. So making sure that you are digitally detoxing, that you're treating your body as a sacred temple, and that you're putting in foods that are nourishing, that you are coming back to nature as much as you possibly can, that you are centering whatever your spiritual practice is and centering your day on that spiritual practice, but ultimately that you are nourishing your spiritual desires. So if you have access to the ocean, I would go to the ocean on Wednesday, or honestly, wherever. Be really clear and honest with yourself on how and where do you see God, and return to there as much as you can this week. And when you are doing these manifestations, which I would really invite you to do, that you are doing them amidst what you define God to be. So if that's, you find God at your altar, you find God in a church, you find God in your kitchen, you find God in a park or a beach or a friend's home, wherever you feel most divinely connected, return to there as much as possible. And honestly, just making sure that you're drenching your life in divinity. So if you feel the most divinely connected when you are juicing every day, or when you are moving your body with intentionality, when you are doing prayer for a certain amount of time or meditation for a certain amount of time, just making sure that you have a very clear channel when it comes to divinity and your guides and how you define God to be, that there's a clear channel going on so that you can have awareness of are the things that I'm calling in this lifetime relative to what my soul is yearning for, what my larger purpose is yearning for, instead of what my ego, what my survival instinct, what just lower vibrational ways of existing are telling me that I need. So yes, like I said, this moon is conjoining Jupiter, so it's going to bring so many gifts. And like I said, when I go over the rising signs, this is going to be where you're going to experience just a breath of fresh air, new life. But outside of where it's going to show up for you relative to your rising sign, just in general, this is really an energy to work with when it comes to what do you want right now? What are you so clear that you want in your life? And how can you work with this really supportive and expansive energy to manifest that for yourself? Just by being clear on it, being clear and removing the blocks that tell you aren't deserving of it, that it's too large for you, that's, those kinds of things usually happen for other people. And this can be relative to relationships, to career milestones, even to just like health milestones. Like, what is it that you typically think other people get and you don't usually get, that you can finally switch the narrative of? Because when it comes to manifesting, we think that so much of it is in the act of doing, when in actuality, so much of it is in the act of unblocking the ways in which you don't think you're deserving of the thing, right? So really just allowing yourself to be limitless in the way that you manifest this week. What else? Yes, coming back to nature and creativity. Pisces is also all about creativity. So, and I've been working on this because I'm like, I have so many people around me that consider themselves artists, and I've never considered myself an artist because I'm like, child, what art am I? But, you know, as creations, we are innately creative beings. And so it's so important that you explore, you know, in what way am I an artist? In what way do I expel creative energy? And how can I center that in my work this week? So like, in what ways can I return to creativity in a way that's very soul nourishing, in a way that's very honest, and also in a way that just connects me to my own artistic identity? I'm such an artist, darling, don't say that. I was like, I guess writing is a form of art, but like, there's just something in my mind that doesn't equate, like, if there isn't a physical and tangible product, I don't think it's artistry. And I recognize that that's a way in which I'm limiting myself. And so I really want to come back to, you know, what do I create? And I would invite all of you guys to do that as well. Work with your sacral energy. So like orange is a great color. I'm feeling orange and purple as like the color healing colors of this week for sure. But really get into your sacral energy and really recognize in what ways are you a creator, in what ways, you know, I think and I'm reading the book, this one is a really great rec. The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. Life-changing, darling. And it really just centers the idea that as creations, we were really put on this earth to create. And so we really want to utilize this Pisces energy to come back to like, what am I contributing into the world that is derivative of my soul's purpose, a larger scheme of things that feeds and nourishes a collective, and trickles down to how I personally feel fulfilled and get to indulge, right? Because Pisces energy is not just about, purple's a fave for me too. But yes, Pisces is not just about, you know, what we're doing for others, but ultimately how there's like a symbiotic experience where what we do for others and how we contribute and pour our energy and light into the world ultimately feeds us as well. And it's so important to recognize that you deserve, and it is okay to desire comfort and luxury, right? Because, yeah, there's just so many layers as to why that's important. But just allow yourself to desire to live a life of luxury, of beauty, and making sure that you are decorating your life to be a so. So, like, if your meals look pretty, that's such a vibe. And if your environment is gorgeous, that's such a vibe. And if you not only look at life through the lens that sees the beauty in everything, but also like make the extra effort to make everything around you beautiful in your physical environment, how you adorn your temple, the places that you go. If you know there's a specific cafe that is like aesthetically pleasing and you want to do your work there, right? It's a very Venusian energy. Pisces is traditionally, it's like said to be ruled by like Neptune, but also Jupiter. There's debate there, but like I sometimes find myself equating Pisces to Venusian energy because it's so important that we bask in the divine feminine, that we make our lives altars, that we treat our bodies as altars. And that's why I say it's a good week to detox. And that doesn't mean to not indulge in sweets. If anything, sweets are a form of comfort that we deserve to bask in. But just making sure that you're intentional with like, am I seeing my body and how it shows up in the world as sacred? Am I nourishing it as such? Nourishment is kind of more at the forefront of that. So yes, all in all, prioritize your spiritual wellness. Center this week on your spiritual wellness. How do you need to show up for your soul? Digitally detox, physically detox, sweat. I feel red. Same, babe, same. Making sure that the manifestations you put in place and that you write down or speak aloud on Wednesday are limitless, boundless, large, expansive, right? Use this Jupiter energy to see yourself as deserving of the largest version of what you are calling in. And that doesn't mean that it's a blinged out collar, but that it is the largest version of what you define to be like indulgence and pleasure. So yeah, just you'll know what that means intuitively for you, but just making sure that you're not limiting what you dream. And coming back to nature as much as you possibly can, creating in a way that is honest and reflective of who you are as a creator or a creative. And yeah, asking yourself, are you placing limitations on your dreams? And this is something that I got from Jess Be Inspired, who is my favorite Reiki artist in the world. But one time I was doing a workshop with her and she said, what energy are you fueling your dreams with? And it blew my mind. Because if you're trying to manifest something or trying to create something and the energy that you're fueling with is like desperation or, impatience, longing, comparison to how others' journeys are going, if you're fueling your dreams with that kind of energy, it's going to meet you back with that same sort of like karmic response, as opposed to fueling your energy with expansiveness, with trust, with patience, with grace, with soul intention, with pure intention. Those dreams are going to meet you back with that kind of same karmic response. So just recognize, like, what energy am I sitting in when I'm creating, when I'm writing, when I'm standing in my my manifestive creative space, and how can I alchemize it to be something that is supportive and divine rather than like just survival or egoic. Write down your manifestations to be limitless, and then ask yourself, is the why behind whatever you are calling in soul and divinely sourced, or is it ego and 3D survival based? With that being said, if you want some insight on where you can derive some inspiration for what to manifest during this lunation, like I said, in general, just what are your dreams right now and how can you be limitless in how large you deserve them to be? But also relative to your rising sign. So if you are a Pisces rising, identity, this is an entire identity shift opportunity. So like, also, our first house also rules how we kind of show up physically. So if you want to like change your look, iconic. I would assume no one here is a Pisces rising. Pisces risings are so rare to come across, but they're some of my favorite risings for that reason. But yeah, changing your physicality or being more, just experimental with your self and physical expression, and also just like the identity that you stand in. How does the world perceive you? If you're Aquarius rising, this is a beautiful time to really be expansive when it comes to your physical manifestations and your financial manifestations. So call in the money that you are deserving of and worth. And it is so important that we redefine our relationship with money and that we no longer see it as something that is dirty, but rather something that can expand and connect us to more resources and more ways of showing up for community and building a life that is luxurious and comfortable and all of those things. If you're a Capricorn, this is in your third house. So really, a Capricorn rising, this will be in your third house. Really allow yourself to explore new ways of expression. If you are a writer or a poet or just any way that you utilize your words in order to communicate and show up in the world. If you have a podcast, really be expansive with the ways, not only the ideas that you share into the world. So let like spirituality be a source of how you are showing up and expressing yourself in the world, but also like be more expansive when it comes to how far, deep, large, and global you think your reach can be. And that's to you. If you're a Sagittarius rising, like myself, fourth house. So this is all about home. This is all about your physical environment. So making sure that your physical environment is like delicious and pretty and ethereal, but also just what is home to you? Can you be more expansive? Can you incorporate travel into what home is for you? Can you be more fluid in the fact that home can be something external or something internal that you carry around with you? Scorpio risings, this is in your fifth house. Iconic. It's all about inner child healing for you. I've had it's so crazy. This past week, I've had maybe like 5 readings for Scorpio risings, and it's because I think the lunar nodes have switched into your first house. So there's like a lot of triggering when it comes to how we're... Oh, sorry. Here you go, Cozy. Okay. Oh, sorry. My dog was like, do not want to be in this room anymore. So Scorpio risings are all about right now expansion, just internal shifts. But with that being said, this is transiting your fifth house, which is the house of inner child, of creativity, of play. So you want to make sure that you're coming back to inner child healing, that you are revisiting what you desired and were drawn to in your childhood, and that you are centering the ways in which you show up in a creative way right now relative to like, what does your inner child want to do and experience and say, and just how can you incorporate play into your purpose, right? And even center your purpose on play. So that's iconic. If you were a Libra rising, this is in your 6th house. So we want to make sure, 6th house rules many things, but above all else, it's routine. So you want to make sure that your routine has a very, very, very committed space for your spiritual wellness. Are you centering your meditations, your nature explorations, and just is your time as committed to your spiritual upkeep as it is your financial upkeep? And just, also I think it is a house that rules health. On an emotional, mental, but ultimately a physical level. So you also want to make sure that you are disciplined when it comes to not abiding by a strict and rigid routine that doesn't allow fluidity into your life, but rather that you are seeing yourself as sacred and honoring the ways in which you can treat your body as a temple by committing to it with intention. If you're a Virgo rising, this is in your 7th house, honey. Relationships, love, we love that for you. So be expansive when it comes to what you deserve in a relationship. If you find that you limit what you deserve, or that you think, oh, that's enough, I don't need commitment, I don't need, just really recognize the ways in which you deserve the largest form of love, and that you are calling that in, and you're calling it in by feeling deserving of it innately. Also, with Jupiter transiting this house, you may meet someone abroad, honey. So allow yourself to travel a bit, allow yourself to explore, and find that maybe the potential lovers in your life could be in a place that's foreign. But also, if you're already in a relationship, I would invite you to invite in more fluidity in how you experience this relationship, right? So bond on a more spiritual level, explore together. Just open up your mind to the ways in which the relationship can evolve. Yes, we love that. Next up, we have a few more. If you're a Leo rising, this is in your 8th house. 8th house is a very spooky and spiritual house. It's the Scorpio house. It rules death, sex, and rebirth. So we really want to invite in some new energy when it comes to the identity that we're standing in, and allowing yourself to be reborn through your spiritual beliefs and what you define divinity to be. But ultimately, the 8th house also rules our subconscious. So we want to make sure that is our inner world reflective of the fact that we are not separate from God, but rather an experience of God? And can you see yourself as that way, and thus funnel the way that you create and experience life through the lens of being a reflection of God? I'm a fucking phoenix on period, queen. That's hilarious. So Cancer rising, 9th house, travel. Get out of your normal routine, of anything that is mundane, monotony, travel. And of course, travel is something that happens on a physical level, but it's also something that happens on a mental and educational level. So you want to make sure that you are exploring new ways of thinking through what you are reading, through what you are learning. It's also the house that rules higher learning and consciousness expansion. So are you letting yourself learn new things and expand through how you are learning? Are you letting yourself be in new places and explore new cultures and let that deepen you? Just all the ways in which you can let exploration show up in your life on a physical and mental level. Last 3. Okay. Gemini risings, this is in your 10th house. Iconic. This is the house of career. Of course, now it's understood to be the house of career, right? Because we're in modern times. But ultimately, on a traditional lens, the 10th house was just kind of how did the world experience us? How were we in our divine masculine, the Capricorn house? So whether it's career or ultimately just whatever platform it is that you've created in this life, whether it's a corner of the world or something that's global, are you letting yourself be limitless when it comes to what you believe you deserve success-wise, career-wise? And I think what's most important is your purpose, is how you're showing up in career. Is it honoring your spiritual truth? Is it honoring your soul's purpose? Are you feeding something that is based on soul desire versus egoic desire? And how can you be more limitless when it comes to your career goals and aspirations? So we have Taurus and Aries left. Taurus is in the 11th house. This is in the Aquarius house. There's a lot here. It's also the house of friendship. So you want to make sure that you are exploring and surrounding yourself with people that deepen you. If you find that you are in the same spaces with the same circles, having the same conversations, really reflect on what kind of company have I built around myself, and can I be more inviting when it comes to just my circle? Am I allowing myself to be surrounded by people that deepen my curiosity, that challenge my beliefs, and not in a way that's argumentative, but rather in a way that expands me? And also, of course, if you are in a place where you want to build a new community, now is a beautiful time to build that community relative to like who you have evolved into spiritually. Michelle, oh yeah, well, you just moved. So of course, yeah, building a new community for sure. And just, yeah, cultivating friendships that honor who you believe yourself to be on the other end of like whatever transformation you've endured. Also, 11th house outside of friendships is like our relationship with the internet. So making sure that how you're showing up in the internet is relative to who you have expanded yourself to be. I'm not a Taurus rising, but I feel I've been really reflecting on like how much of my online presence is like performative and for external validation versus how much of it is true. And it's both for sure. I think it always kind of will be, but like, yeah, just making sure that how you are showing up in the internet is true and spiritually expansive. And that isn't to say, whenever I say to return to spiritual truth, it isn't that we all need to be like these like gurus, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, that you have to take on a role where you are within spiritual leadership, but rather that like, when it comes to spirituality, it's more so of like, what do you define the whole cosmic why to be? Your own personal cosmic why, and are you living a life that is in alignment with that truth, right? Our doing is fueled from our being. So like, are you standing in a being that is aware of your divinity, aware of a purpose larger than you? And yeah, is everything that you are doing being fueled and funneled through that lens? And lastly, if you are an Aries rising, this is the 12th house. This is the Pisces house. So you're probably having a very expansive time, and if you haven't yet, you will be, but it's really a time to look at like, what is my spiritual truth, and am I living a life that's in alignment with my spiritual truth? I would really pay attention to my dreams if I was an Aries rising right now, because there's probably going to be a lot of communication there. But ultimately, is my subconscious world clean? Is my subconscious world and my inner dialogue reflective of my spiritual beliefs? So yeah, it all comes back to spirituality. Jupiter, Pisces. Yes. All in all, though, I really am so excited about this lunation. Selfishly for myself, like I'm so excited to do nothing on Wednesday, but like just bask in, yeah, like near the ocean. I'm going to write down everything. I'm going to be limitless. It's been rough out here. Yeah, anytime we have a 12th house transit, it's not the easiest, but it's kind of like a deterioration that invites you to like stand in the fullest embodiment of yourself. Thank you. Gorgeous. So I hope that you guys work alongside this specific transit, because it's going to be so delicious and fruitive for us, expanding and being larger and deeper, more delicious, juicier versions of ourselves. So play, create, be limitless in how you manifest, and I'll see you next time. If you ever want to do a one-on-one, I'm available for those things, and yeah. Bye, guys. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Magical March.